Quick guitar comparison. Waterloo WL-S versus a Collings 001 ASB. They are so similar, but they are still so different somehow. I want you to put good headphones on, listen on good computer speakers. I want you to pay attention and tell me everything you hear in between these two guitars. Now, before we dig in, I'm Jeremy. If this is your first time here, welcome. I'm the Guitar Hunter. I make helpful and fun content that makes you a better guitar player, a guitar hunter who fills the world with music and friendship. We're building a community of people that offer music and friendship to the world as we discover a badass life with guitars. Similarities from top to bottom. Both are made in Austin, Texas. Both have slot headstocks. Both have bone nut and bone saddle. Both have red spruce tops, pyramid bridges, and are a 00 shape. On the back of the headstocks from top to bottom, the Collings has square slots and Waverly tuners. The Waterloo has round slots and gold tone style tuners. The Collings also has a volute on the back of the headstock, and the Waterloo does not. They both transition into V-shaped necks, but the Collings is more subtle, where the Waterloo is a very pronounced vintage V-style neck. Both necks meet the body at the 12th fret, and this is where the biggest differences begin to happen. Now, the back and sides of the Collings is mahogany, and the back and sides of the Waterloo is cherry. The biggest and most substantial difference between these two guitars lives underneath the tops, inside the bracing patterns. The Collings is a forward shifted X bracing on the top, and the Waterloo is a traditional ladder braced guitar. With all the specs out of the way, let's hear how they sound, and then we'll come back together and I'll just give some of my notes and thoughts on these guitars before I invite you to share yours in the comments down below. First up is the Waterloo. Now, if you know me, if you know this channel, I've said big, boisterous, ridiculous things about this guitar, like, this is my favorite guitar I've ever owned. So let's just get that out of the way, that these two are, they're very similar, but I really prefer this one, and I just sold that one. So this is the Waterloo WL-S. It also should be said that both of these guitars have the same strings on them so that they will be as similar and honest and fair in the comparison as they can be. Now, these guitars sound and play, and they feel very different to me as the player, and that's what's so interesting. The other thing that is substantially different is the price of these guitars. So the Collings is in the $6s new. And the Waterloo is $2,500. Now, both of these guitars are exceptionally hard to find right now in the summer of 2021. The two of these guitars, even though they're owned by the same company and they're made in the same factory, a lot of people that have been making the Waterloos have been moved over to make Collings over the last year to keep Collings running and afloat and to fulfill orders. I just spoke to Waterloo and Collings last week, and they said that In their peak, they were making about what, I think it was, I could be wrong on this, but they were making about 25 Waterloos a week, and now they're only making about 2 a day. So how does that work out? It's still a substantially lower number of production, where the Collings, they've put a lot of energy and effort to keep those numbers higher. Now they're still lower because they're still coming back from the pandemic like we all are. Now, let's leave just the practical and the economics and the minutia of these things, and let's move into how they actually sound and feel. Like I said a minute ago, they feel very different. The biggest substantial differences that I found is the tone, that the cherry on the back and sides paired with the ladder bracing is a really present and bloomy feeling guitar. So if you play electric guitar and you know that feeling of a Strat or a single coil guitar with just a full power tube amp, that's what happens with the Waterloo. When I play it, it just feels like there are no thin notes. Even the B and the E strings have lots of punch and volume, and they just feel like they're hitting you like a wall. Now, as you move over to the Collings, it sounds beautiful and sweet. It does not have nearly as much low end and bass. Now, it probably will open up. This is still a pretty new guitar, but compared to the Waterloo, there's more bass, more low end over here. Now, the other thing that was so substantially different from the playing perspective is the neck profile and the neck width. I'm going to give you a full breakout of the specs, but specs do not a guitar make. Reading a spec sheet does not give you the information you actually need to figure out if a guitar is right for you. If you're curious about finding how to find the right guitar for you, check out my buyer's guide on my website. It is the most helpful resource, and there are more to come to find the right guitar for you, to all of those details and questions that you should ask. I'm working on I'm gonna launch a course here soon that will be all about finding the right guitar. How do you buy your first boutique, your right guitar, your forever guitar? Now, the last and largest difference between the two of these is the price. Now, the Collings, as I mentioned a minute ago, the Collings is $6,500, $7,000. I'll put the exact number up here for what this guitar would cost new. It is a very expensive guitar. And on the other side, this guitar is substantially lower. I think new, these sell for $2,500. I bought this one used for $1,500. Now, I know that I used some tricks and voodoo, and like, I don't think you could find another one for $1,500 right now. But all of that to say, why are these two guitars so much different in price? Especially when you look at like the biggest thing. So on this guitar, whoever ordered this originally would have paid more to get a red spruce top. Now, the thing that Waterloo does that I think is really interesting is you don't really get to spec them out. They're not really customized. And so you just get whatever the materials they have. Now, this guitar, they say sometimes they're Sitka spruce, sometimes they're red spruce, and they don't necessarily keep track of which is which. I have had a hunch that this is a red spruce top, and I couldn't ever confirm it until I saw the grain on this. They are identical as far as just wide, pronounced grain. So what's amazing is this one kind of snuck under the radar, I think. Had some amazing specs. So a great piece of red spruce on the top. So some of the largest contributing factors to why one guitar is so substantially more expensive than the other are the construction methods themselves, the materials used, the finish. That is a large part of the price. So let's just dig into a couple of those. So the Waterloo is very much, the ethos and style of Waterloo is that they are trying to capture student grade instruments from the 1930s. Really simple finishes. So with this, the fanciest thing about this finish is the sunburst. Other than that, it's a very simple gloss finish on the top, and then the back and sides, headstock, back of the neck, every other part of it is a satin finish that is just sprayed. I don't think it's polished at all. And so with that, you just get, this is a very economical way to finish a guitar. Now, comparing that to the Collings is a full fat, high gloss, beautiful finish that is just stunning and meticulously well done. And that is, that's always been Collings' MO. It's just the absolute best materials, best construction methods, and best finishes. And so the other components to this that would make this guitar a little more expensive, there's a volute on the back of the neck, which is a much more complicated thing to cut. It's a square slot headstock rather than round. So for the Waterloo headstock, it's the round slots, which basically you can use the end mill that's just a round, looks like a drill bit, and it can just press in straight in. It can run on a CNC. There's not as much human involvement in the construction of this, which is, that's the name of the game, to save money, to save labor. The most expensive part building guitars is labor. It is always labor. So you have Collings on one side and you have Waterloo on the other. Now, Collings' philosophy is to build the absolute best instruments that maintain historical significance and are still presented as the best guitars in the world. And that is what they're going for. Best parts, best pieces, best construction, best materials, just everything about this. They are not trying to be the budget value option. They are just trying to make amazing guitars that will last generations. Now on the other side, Waterloo is a different philosophy. They want guitars that will be played, taken out, that just live in people's hands, rather than hanging up and being in guitar cases. And with that, so there are a couple things that just make this guitar much more friendly for taking out and playing. And so it's just a different philosophy. Now with this, the gloss finish and those kinds of things, and the materials as well. Cherry is a much more affordable tone wood, although I love cherry, and I think that cherry should be a premier prestige level tone wood. It's not super beautiful to look at, but it just sounds so good. So these guitars are substantially very, very, very different, but they really share a lot in common. So tell me in the comments below, what do you think is the most interesting about how similar they are? So in what ways are they most similar, and in what ways are they most different? And which one would you buy? How do you justify $2,500 versus $6,000 or $7,000? Let me know in the comment section down below. I want to have a discussion about these two guitars because I think they are so cool. Now it is time for this guitar to head on to a new home. It's going to be packed up. It's going to be sent off to my friend Howard. Howard, you're getting a great guitar. Thank you so much for letting me hang on to this for an extra couple days after you bought it so that I could film this video. And I love that we will be guitar brothers across the country, having such similar and such important and substantial guitars. I'm very thankful. So thanks for watching. I am Jeremy, and make sure you're subscribed and go to patreon.com, become a patron. If you want a cool t-shirt, if you want to check out what other guitars I have for sale, if you want to buy the buyer's guide, go to jeremytheguitarhunter.com/shop. That is the central place for all of the ways in which I'm giving you tools to fill the world with music and friendship, to become a guitar hunter in your community that just brings life wherever you go. So, thanks for watching. I'm Jeremy. I'll see you later.